Hello and welcome to the 12th video, and in this video we'll get the mummies spawning out of sarcophagi. So we will put in a sarcophagus starting to begin with, and so if you notice in your models here, there was the mummy that we dealt with. There's a sarcophagus lying down. You might want to use that later. It just sort of opens. Don't know. There's probably an animation to get the mummy to come out of that as well. And there's one here where it's standing, and then the door sort of flies off. So we'll probably use that one. Well, we will use that one. So I'm just going to drag it in, and we can rename this right away when it's in our scene here. And this is going to be our spawner. So basically, we'll make a prefab of this later on once we get sort of set up, and our mummies will come out of these sarcophagi. So first off, though, we don't have a material on it. So let me just find that material. And again, you've got lots of lots of choices here. Textures and materials. One of these, color mummy LP4. I think it's one of these. That seems to be. Just a second. Let me just find it here, which one it is. So I think that's it there, but we can just go into this and grab these two because those are our materials. Where's our materials? Oh, okay, that's what makes up the lid and the stone part. And you can see here, where is it here? Our materials. Edit bounds. Materials, there we are. There does say a mummy material on it, but that doesn't seem to be the right one. So let's just drag one of these on and see. Maybe LP1. That looks better one. I think we want sort of this brown color. Okay, so I think, sorry, move around a little bit here. I think that's looking pretty good. Okay, so there it is there. Now, what we're going to do is put a script on this to get it to open up, or well, to spawn the enemy, and it's going to open up with the animation there, which we'll get to in a minute. But let's create a script here that we'll call the spawner. So create a new script, spawner, and we'll open that up. Okay, open it up there, spawner, and we'll get going on this. So the spawner is going to do quite a bit here. Obviously, it's going to have a bit of a delay. It's going to allow us to sort of play the animation, sort of get the mummy coming out of the, out of the sarcophagus. It'll probably set its values for how many hits it can take. So we've got a bit of variety. Maybe the type of mummy that we've got. There's a few different colors there. A variety of different things. So, but let's start it up sort of with the basic thing. And so what we'll do is right at the top here. Well, yeah, we'll wait a second there. We'll go into the update first. And so the big idea is that if, right, it's ready to spawn. So we're going to create a Boolean here. So ready to spawn. Okay, so this is kind of the big thing that's going to go on. So this will be, it will check to see if this is true. So if it's ready to spawn, then we're going to start a coroutine because it's going to take, we're going to have to wait a little bit inside here to get things going, and we'll call that coroutine spawn. All right, so don't worry too much yet. This will start to flesh out as we go here. So, and we don't want to call that spawner. We want that spawn. Okay, so ready to spawn is going to be a one of those ones that we've seen before, sort of that fancy little bool that we can do here. So ready to spawn. Ready to spawn, make sure, well, I did lowercase there, so I'll just keep that the same. Ready to spawn is going to be set to the time dot time, and then the next time. So it's greater than or equal to, so set that to be the time dot time when that time dot time is greater than or equal to the next spawn time. Okay, and so we're using that same idea as with the shooter, with the gun. So let's get that in. And so, of course, we've got to create some variables up here. So I'm going to do a serialized, well, I'm going to do a float here. We'll do the serialized field after. Let's get rid of that. So a float, and that will be our next spawn time. Right, and we can put a semicolon there. And yeah, I think we'll do that there because that's just going to be setting a value. And we need to set the spawn time after it sort of spawns here. So I'm just going to come down here and we're going to do this as a coroutine. So remember the coroutine is IE numerator. Numerator. IE, so that's a small n, numerator. Good. And then in there, we're going to call it the spawn coroutine. And in here, basically, we'll first define the next spawn time is going to be the time.time. So just like we did before, and add on, we haven't defined this yet, but the spawn delay. So we have to create a float that will figure out how long it will take for the next one to appear. So that's just going to make sure not all code paths return value. Okay, so that's okay so far. We haven't done the wait for seconds sort of thing in here, so that's why that's giving us a problem. We'll get that fixed up. We'll put this spawn delay up here as a serialized field. Serialized field, spawn delay. And again, just a number for the moment. We'll give it 12 seconds there. We can change that if we need to. So spawn delay, serialized field. Oh, I didn't say what type. It's a float. There we go. So we've got kind of the basic framework here. There's a lot more that we have to do with the spawn, but we've kind of got the idea that it will spawn something once we've got enough time. Enough time has gone by. It will be ready to spawn. It will run this coroutine. So in this spawn, right, we've got our delay here. What we have to do is obviously spawn the mummy. So what I'm going to do is create a variable for the mummy. So each mummy that will come in, and we're going to instantiate what? Well, we're going to instantiate the mummy prefab. So we have to create a object for that, or a variable for that. We'll do that in a minute. So the mummy prefab, and it will create it at the transform.position of the sarcophagus and the rotation to transform dot rotation. Okay, so we've got both. We've got the mummy showing up. So let's actually put the mummy prefab up here. So serialized field. I think we'll put in a serialized field as well. Oops. And this will be a mummy. So the type mummy. I think that will be okay. There we go. Sorry, it should be capital there because that matches up with the script. And we call this mummy prefab. Good. So we'll just leave it there. I'll just put a space in there. Come back down to this. So now that should be okay there. Just haven't used it all at all. So what we'll do then is we've got to play the animation. So once we've created the mummy, then we want the sarcophagus to open. So we're going to grab the component, which is going to be the animator component. And what we'll do is we'll set a bool. So this time we're not doing a trigger. We're going to set a bool here. So dot set bool. And we'll set the bool. We'll call this open. So the boolean will either be true or false. And then we'll set that to true. So, oops. So once it's true, it will play the animation. Now this here is where we're going to use the actual IE numerator, right? So we're going to yield, return, oops, new, wait for seconds, and you can play around with this, probably maybe 1 second or something like that. Okay, and so, oops, what's going on here? Yield, return, wait for seconds. Don't know, I got an opening and closing one there. That's good. Okay, so once it's waited for a second, now what we have to try to do is get the mummy to move. Okay, so mummy dot, so we're going to access the mummy. We don't have a function here called start walking, but we're going to create one. So we're going to sort of force the mummy to start walking at that time. Okay, we'll go back and do that later. We'll wait again. So this is to let the mummy sort of walk out of the sarcophagus, and then we want to close it. So yield, return, new, wait 4 seconds, and then we'll do that for 3 seconds or something like that. Again, you can change that up. And then we have to get that animator again. So get component animator, and we basically are just going to do the exact same thing set the bool, but we're going to set that open bool to false, which will help close it. So this time, like I said, we're doing a little bit different. There's no set trigger, and mostly this is because we want to sort of go both ways. Whoops, not to true. It's no longer going to be true. We want to close that sarcophagus up. Okay, so let us go to the mummy script, and in the mummy script we can sort of create the start walking function. So what we'll do is create that method here. So just come back into here. So we wanted to create that, and we'll make it public so we can access it from that. So we called it start walking. Let's do that. And so for the moment, we'll just make sure that the nav mesh is enabled. So we'll do, what did we call it? Nav, okay, right here. So nav mesh enabled equals false. I'm just going to copy that, make it true. Oh, and of course, what did I forget? Public void. There we go. So nav mesh agent.enabled is true. So then it will be able to start walking there, just to prevent it from when it gets created, right? So this script would run here at the beginning. On awake, right, it gets the nav mesh agent, but we'll also make sure that it doesn't start moving. So we'll set that to false right at the beginning. So the idea is that when the mummy is created, right, it runs the awake function, so it gets all these things, but we need to make sure that it doesn't start moving. So we can do that by turning off the nav mesh agent. And then after that pause, right, so if we go back to that code there on the spawner, right, there's that, it basically created it here, opens the sarcophagus, it's going to wait, right, so we don't want the mummy moving, so that's when we sort of get it to start walking here. Now we have to do a bit of work with the animator. We've created the code for it, but we need to go into the animator and do that. Just got a little bit of time, so I think I'll just create that animator and then put it on the sarcophagus, and then we'll work on that in the other video there. So just save that up. I think we have somewhere animations. So we have the mummy animation. We will create a new animator controller. We'll call that spawner. And what we'll do is we'll throw it onto the spawner here. So there is already an animator spot there, but the controller is none. And so we'll throw that on there, and then we'll be able to come back in the next video and work on our animation here.